The first stirrings of the twins in my belly struck like thunder. I immediately rushed deep into the wolf pack's territory. I bought every herb they had to suppress labor. They exuded a bitter, strange smell, each one like a sharp, poisonous blade. I stuffed them into my mouth, forcing myself to chew and swallow, letting the pungent bitterness explode on my tongue. I leaned against an ancient oak tree, its bark as rough as my heart.
Not yet. Not yet. I must postpone.
The next day, I was still struggling in excruciating pain. Just then, a resounding wolf howl pierced the sky. I looked up and saw Leo, the man I had once believed to be my life partner, standing atop a high rock. His majestic figure, gilded in the morning light, resembled a god.
Children of the wolf pack, Clara has given birth to the first alpha heir for me, for our pack.
In my previous life, I naively believed his lies, thinking that if I gave him my firstborn son, he would be mine, but I forgot that his heart was made of ice. When my labor began, he murdered our child in my womb with his own hands. His voice still haunts me like a nightmare.
Clara and her cub died in childbirth.
He roared, dragging me like a dead object to Clara's freshly buried grave. The tombstone still smelled of fresh earth. He grabbed my neck, his voice like a poisoned arrow.
You tried to steal her son's inheritance. Now you will pay the price.
He ended my life with his own hands at Clara's grave. When I regained consciousness and caught the bitter scent of herbs again, I realized I was back in that moment, back to the beginning of that nightmare. This time I wouldn't wait any longer. I clung to the tree trunk beside me, my nails digging deep into the bark. It was a profound awakening.
In this life, I will give you everything. Whatever you desire, I will give it to you.
Chapter 1. I summoned the healer and demanded he inject me with the final dose of suppressants. The healer was terrified, pleading with me. Rose, you must give birth now. If you delay any longer, your bloodline will collapse. Leo's beta guards rushed in and forcibly dragged me away. The Luna's vitals are dropping. Interrupting her labor will cause the mother's bloodline to collapse. You'll kill all 3 of them. But the guards turned a deaf ear, roughly hauling me to the Crescent Moonpack's heir announcement ceremony. The she-wolves Leo had publicly favored were also brought to the scene, some with their bellies already swollen. Then everyone, including me, was forced by the guards to drink a bowl of a wolfsbane potion. The venue instantly filled with shrieks and wails as the metallic tang of blood permeated the air. Even if the alpha's mate has a child, it's not like we mistresses will ever gain any real status. But why do we have to lose our children? It hurts. Help me. I, too, was forced to drink a whole bowl of the potion. The signs of labor I had just managed to suppress returned as a torrent of blood. My screams startled the women present, and they panicked. Get the healer! Someone is going to die! Clara and Leo came in. Clara's face was rosy. She looked nothing like she had just given birth. The moment Leo entered and saw the she-wolves lying on the floor, his expression changed instantly. Clara, however, covered her nose and shrieked, "Oh my! All these ladies had a miscarriage. Who could be so cruel as to poison them and kill their unborn pups?" Before she had even finished speaking, Leo glared at me, pinning me to the ground with his powerful alpha's command. You bitch! You poisoned them while I was away. How could you be so jealous you'd kill them and the children in their wombs? I was in too much pain to stand. I gritted my teeth and said, I didn't. It must have been her. Still not admitting it? He roared. This isn't the first time you've hurt someone out of jealousy. This time I won't let you get away with it. I was trembling all over, looking up at him. So I'm not the only one who has been reborn. No wonder he immediately knew it was me the moment Clara spoke. No wonder he said this wasn't my first time doing such a thing. Because in my previous life, he framed me in this exact way and sentenced me to death for Clara. Rose, playing the victim won't work. Even if you give birth early, it won't matter. I've already had the healer prepare Clara's body. This time she'll definitely beat you to it. Whoever gives birth first, their pup will be the heir. Even if you do give birth, it will be meaningless. I already took an inhibitor to delay labor, just to make way for your perfect family of 3, but why wouldn't you let me have my child? Why did you also make me drink wolfsbane trying to kill my baby? Stop lying. Your due date was last night. I've asked the healer, you've already given birth. I wailed in agony. Stop acting. If you want to prove you had no intention of harming Clara, then at tomorrow's press conference you will admit you are unable to conceive and request Clara to be your surrogate. After that, you will cede all the pack's lands and titles to her and her pup. From now on, you will dedicate yourself to serving them. If you dare to pull any more tricks, if you dare to touch a single hair on her head, I won't just deal with you and your mongrel. Your uncle at the Moonlight Sanctuary won't survive the next full moon either. Chapter 2. Stop acting. If you want to prove you didn't mean to harm Clara, then at the press conference tomorrow you will admit that you were unable to conceive and asked Clara to be a surrogate for you. Then, you will relinquish your claim to all pack lands and titles to her and her pup, and you will dedicate yourself to serving them from now on. If you dare pull any more tricks, if you so much as touch a single hair on her head, it won't just be you and the bastards in your belly I'll deal with. That uncle of yours in the Moonhaven retreat won't live to see another moon. My eyes widened in disbelief as I stared at Leo, my sobs heart-wrenching. Leo, you bastard! My uncle is all alone because our family saved your father. How can you threaten me with his life? Leo said impatiently, "Serve Clara well, take good care of her and her son, and I won't touch him." With that, he wrapped his arm around Clara and left. "Clara, thank you for giving me an heir. I will reward you handsomely." Blood poured from between my legs as I begged the beta guards in the hall to take me to the healer, to save the pups in my womb. The matriarch rushed in, her face turning pale at the sight of the blood pooling on the floor around me. "Get her to the healer now. If anything happens to my grandchildren, I won't spare a single one of you." I was taken to the pack's medical room, but the healer never showed up. The matriarch was furious, demanding to know where the healers assigned to me had gone. A young attendant stammered, "Matriarch, all the healers in the territory have been summoned by the Alpha to the Riverside Villa." Miss Clara pricked her finger during a blood draw, and Alpha Leo was afraid of complications. "So he has all the healers on standby? So right now in the entire city, there are no healers." The matriarch was so angry she tried to contact him through the mind link. He's gone mad, his own mate is hemorrhaging while giving birth, yet he's called away all the healers for an outsider, completely disregarding her life. After more than 10 attempts, Leo finally answered the mind link, impatiently asking what the matriarch wanted, if I was causing trouble and getting her to back me up again. The matriarch shouted, "Rose has hemorrhaged to the point of unconsciousness. The pups are dying inside her. How could you take away all her healers? Are you trying to kill your own mate and pups?" Leo sneered. "Did Rose put you up to this? Her pups were born yesterday. Why is she pretending to be in labor now?" Fine. I'm busy taking announcement photos with Clara and our son. She wants a healer? I'll send someone." The matriarch ended the mind link and held my hand tightly. "Don't be afraid, Rose. The healer will be here soon." I clutched my belly, feeling the life inside me gradually fading. I thought of my past life. How my pups were also killed by Leo's own hands, suffocated to death right inside my womb. I trembled all over as I pulled the matriarch's hand and said with great difficulty, "Matriarch, 3 years ago, when my family fell from grace to save Leo's father, you promised you would treat me like your own daughter. You said that if Leo ever treated me poorly, you would help me sever the mate bond with him. I'm begging you, help me sever the mate bond. I won't stand in the way of his beloved son. I just want my pups to be born safely." The matriarch was already in tears, her words tumbling out. "Although it was to repay your family, I only said I'd take you in as a goddaughter," confessing his love, proposing. "That was all, Leo. He said you were fated mates. He loved you so much. How did it come to this? It's all that bitch Clara's fault. If she hadn't appeared, things wouldn't have turned out this way." I smiled miserably. Yes, childhood sweethearts, fated mates. How did we end up like this? The man who blushed at his coming-of-age ceremony, swearing that if he ever betrayed me, he would be torn apart by 1,000 blades and suffer a wretched death. Now, for another woman, he was putting me through that hell. "I'm begging you, matriarch," I said, gritting out each word. Hearing my faint thread-like plea, the matriarch finally nodded. "All right. Before your bonding ceremony, I made him sign an agreement with you precisely for a day like this. It gives me the power to help you leave him. I'll go get the ceremonial token now and have it processed urgently. Tomorrow, I will announce that your children are my only heirs. As for that ungrateful, monstrous son of mine, I will disown him." The matriarch left immediately. I lay on the bed as waves of agony ripped through my abdomen, and I cried out. The young attendant the matriarch left behind anxiously awaited the healer Leo was sending. Finally, someone arrived, but it wasn't a healer, it was a delivery courier. Seeing the bloody scene in the delivery room, he awkwardly handed over a bag. A few ordinary painkillers and a roll of bandages fell out. The Alpha said it's just some postpartum bleeding, not fatal. He said you should handle it yourself and stop disgusting him. The attendant's eyes were red from crying as they smashed the bag to the ground. "Luna, I'm taking you to a hospital in the neutral territories. You have to hold on." I wailed continuously until my vision went black. My inner wolf was fading. Finally, I passed out. I was woken by a bucket of ice-cold, silver-laced water thrown on me. Before me was Leo's face, filled with disgust. "You're awake. Stop pretending," he said, looking down at me. "You knew I was announcing the heir with Clara tomorrow, yet you still made a scene about going to a hospital in the neutral territories. Are you that desperate for everyone to think Clara is bullying you?" Clara stood behind him, holding an unfamiliar wolf pup, tears streaming down her face as she looked pitifully vulnerable. Luna, I know you hate me. Take your revenge on me. But why did you have to get the matriarch to come and take my pup? Before they dragged that attendant away, he was screaming that the matriarch was filing paperwork to have my pup legally transferred to you. He said I wasn't worthy of being the heir's mother. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. I could only shake my head with all my might, trembling as I pleaded. I didn't... And... to the healer out is the pups, they can't hold on. You're lying again. Leo frowned impatiently. My mother left in a hurry and held a late-night meeting with the elders. Weren't you the one who instigated her? Do you think you can secure your position just by stealing Clara's pup? You already gave birth yesterday, didn't you? So why are you still pretending to be in labor, trying to make me feel sorry for you in your dreams? I was in excruciating pain. The blood on my lower body had long since clotted, and the silver dust burned my skin, emitting a thick, foul stench. Clara covered her mouth and retched, her eyes welling with tears. Sister, you know I can't stand the smell of blood after giving birth. You're refusing to clean yourself up just to nauseate me, to make me faint, right? She cried until her face was pale, shrinking into Leo's arms, looking utterly pitiable. Look at you. Leo's face was filled with revulsion, like a madwoman reeking. What a disgrace. He waved his hand, ordering the beta guard to continue pouring buckets of silver-laced water over me. My face turned ashen, my body shivered uncontrollably, and my bloodline felt frozen. Only then did he stop them. Clara, nestled in his arms, cried, Luna, I'm begging you, please don't separate me from my pup. If you insist on taking my son, I'll jump from the top of this building. She made a move as if to jump, and Leo quickly held her back. His rage finally boiled over. He turned, kicked away my hand that was clutching his pant leg, and leaned down to hiss coldly, Don't think you can get your way by manipulating my mother. I've already sent people to lock down the Moonhaven retreat. Your little plot won't succeed. As for you, I warned you not to bully Clara and her pup, but you just won't listen. In that case, I have no choice but to use special measures. He whipped his head around and gave a cold order to the beta guard. She drove Clara to the point of jumping. She should pay the price. Go, tear off her uncle's protection rune and publicly execute him as a traitor. Leo! I screamed. Are you insane? That's my uncle. Our family saved your father's life. So what? Leo sneered. To get you married into an alpha family, to make your pup the future leader, your uncle saved my father using that debt to force me to marry you. Now you're Luna, and I've even gotten you pregnant. It's your own failure that you couldn't give birth to my first pup. The debt is paid. I don't owe you anything. Do it. I scrambled wildly toward the beta guard, trying to stop them, but I was viciously kicked to the ground. The violent impact sent a fresh wave of agony through me, and the blood that had begun to clot burst forth anew, staining the floor crimson. The pain was so intense I screamed until my throat was raw, curling into a ball. Leo was about to drag me again when his eyes fell on my highly swollen belly, exposed by the kick, and then the scarlet spreading across the floor. His face went deathly pale. He instinctively lunged to my side, holding me, and turned to Clara, demanding, What's going on? I told you to monitor Rose's delivery. Didn't you use the mind link to tell me she already gave birth yesterday and the pups were sent to the nursery? Then why is her belly still so big? Why is she still bleeding? Clara's expression faltered for a moment, but with a quick turn of her eyes, she squeezed out tears, crying as she produced a memory crystal. The Luna really did give birth yesterday. The pup has been in the nursery. I knew the Luna would use this to make things difficult for me, so I had the healer record an image of the pup. She handed the crystal over. The image showed a wolf pup that was clearly a month old, and the projection was crude, an obvious fake, but Leo only glanced at it and believed her. The next second, he furiously yanked me up from the ground and slammed me onto the cold, hard floor. The back of my head hit with a sickening thud, and blood instantly gushed out. How dare you lie to me? He roared, his alpha's power pressing down on me, a cruel weight on my abdomen. You faked a pregnancy and used blood bags just to make me feel sorry for you. How disgusting can you be? Did you think I'd fall for it again? In your dreams. He lifted his leg and without mercy kicked my stomach again and again. Blood and screams filled the air with every impact. No. Please don't. I pleaded until my throat was shredded, my body growing colder and stiffer. Soon, I didn't even have the strength to beg, just curled up in my own pool of blood, trembling silently. He threw off his blood-stained jacket and turned to Clara with an apologetic look. "I'm sorry, Clara, for making you smell this disgusting odor. I'll deal with her right away. After I'm done, I'll take you on vacation to a private island to make it up to you for doubting you, okay?" But Clara shook her head, her eyes misty, her voice pitifully fragile. "Let's just forget it. The Luna hates me so much." "What if you take me away and the moment you're gone, she comes up with a new plan to separate me from my pup?" "Maybe. Maybe I should just leave with my pup and let your pup be the heir instead." She spoke cautiously, sounding utterly wronged, yet her words perfectly hit Leo's sore spot. His face instantly darkened, and his tone, though gentle, was bone-chillingly cold. "Don't worry. I won't give her another chance to harm you or the pup." He waved his hand. "Lock her in the silver-plated underground cell. I'll let her out after I've officially announced that Clara's son is the heir." Ha! I was dragged away by the beta guard like a dead dog. Along the way, my blood left a long, smeared trail on the polished marble floor. The pain made my consciousness fade. I was on the verge of passing out, but I held on to my last breath to beg, "Please, Leo." I asked the matriarch to process our severing of the mate bond, not to steal her pup. "My pups were already killed by you once. They won't survive this time either. My pups and I have already made way for your family. Please don't hurt my uncle, okay?" Tears mixed with blood falling drop by drop. Leo's face was full of impatience. "Fine. As long as you stay quietly in the basement today, I won't." Before he could finish, with a piercing wolf howl and a loud crash, I watched as my uncle fell from a high cliff, his body crashing onto the hard ground in front of me. The eyes that once looked at me with such gentleness were now rolled back, bloodshot, and burst. "Uncle!" I let out a heart-wrenching scream and scrambled forward on my hands and knees, tearing my flesh to shreds. But before I could even touch his fingertips, I was brutally yanked back by the beta guard. "Take her away," Leo said, turning his head. He was a dead man walking anyway, dying now as a release. "Leo, you're worse than an animal," I cried and screamed like a madwoman. "You killed your own pups, and now you've killed the last of the family that saved your life. You'll go to hell." He frowned at me and finally sighed. "Although I told you to lock her up, if she has any requests, just grant them, take care of her." To prepare for the press conference and announce his heir, Leo spared no expense, determined to show the world how much he valued Clara. He bought out every gold shop in the city to commission a magnificent solid gold sculpture, a towering symbol of his devotion in her honor. He spent tens of millions to buy an entire island, naming it after Clara. He, who had never appeared on social media, even registered an account with the username Leo Loves Clara. The first post on the account was a passionate declaration of love. "Grateful for the most important woman in my life, Clara, for giving me my first son. My life is now complete." His press conference lasted for 3 full days. Media from all over the country gathered, lights flashed, and under the spotlights he held Clara's hand, his face glowing with happiness. But behind the cameras, his gaze would occasionally drift to the distance. It seemed he was waiting for a message from the villa through the mind link. However, until the last night before the conference ended, the mind link remained silent. He finally lost his composure and connected to a servant's mind link at the villa. "It's been 3 days. Has the Luna been causing trouble? Did she ask to see me or threaten to come to the conference?" The servant replied with trepidation, "No, Alpha. The Luna hasn't said a word. She hasn't touched the food I left at her door." Hearing this, Leo snorted, a disdainful smile on his lips. "Ha, I knew it. She's just throwing a tantrum. I made it perfectly clear whoever gives birth to my first pup, their pup becomes the heir. She failed, and on top of that, she played all sorts of tricks, pretended to be pitiful, targeted Clara, and even conspired with my mother to steal the pup. I haven't even settled that score with her. I've already been more than magnanimous. And now this a hunger strike?" He thought of Rose's uncle's tragic death and sighed. "Is she angry about her uncle? Go tell her it was an accident. I didn't expect it to go that far. As long as she eats, I'll give her uncle a grand burial, and I'll register Clara's pup under her name to fulfill her dream of being the heir's mother. The condition is that she can't bully Clara in the future. Clara will also move into the house with equal status to her." The servant quickly agreed and ran toward the underground cell. As the sound of the lock turning echoed, the servant's scream came through the mind link a second later. "Alpha, the Luna, she's dead. There's a dead pup next to her." "What nonsense are you talking?" Leo shot to his feet, roaring in fury. "Who gave you permission to curse my mate?" On the other end of the mind link, the servant's voice was still choked with terrified sobs. "Alpha, I'm not lying. The Luna is really gone, no breath left. She's been dead for hours. There's blood everywhere, and the pup's face is purple." "Shut up," he roared, almost losing control. "You are hereby exiled from the pack. Get out. I'll have someone else check on the Luna." The moment he severed the mind link, his hands were trembling. Clara walked in holding the baby, her voice a delicate, wounded whisper. "Why are you so angry, Leo? The media is still outside waiting for our family portrait. If they hear you yelling, they'll think you're unhappy with me and our son." She spoke softly, reaching out to take his arm, but Leo violently flung her hand away, his eyes bloodshot, staring at her as he enunciated each word. "Clara, tell me the truth. That night, are you sure Rose had a smooth delivery? She gave birth safely and was in good health, right?" Clara froze for a second, a flash of panic in her eyes before her voice choked up. "You don't believe me anymore? That night, she really did give birth to a pup, and both mother and child were fine. Besides, didn't I show you the image of the pup? Or did she say something else to you?" She started crying. "Why don't I just leave with the pup right now? How could I not believe you?" Leo immediately grabbed her hand, his tone softening. "It's all Rose. That woman is just playing her wicked games again." But the panic in his eyes didn't lessen. He suddenly let go of her hand. "You and the pup can continue your vacation here. I'm going back to check on things. I'm afraid Rose might be plotting something else to torment you." He finished speaking and quickened his pace, ignoring Clara's calls from behind him. He sat on his private jet, his mind consumed by the servant's words. "No, it can't be." He took a deep breath. This isn't the first time Rose has pulled a stunt like this. This time, it must be another one of her tricks. With her competitive nature, in our last life, she was so desperate to beat Clara's pup that she used a birthing induction ritual, disregarding the safety of her own pups. This time around, she would never use suppressants like she claimed. She must have already had the pups. This is all just a show to get my sympathy. He clenched his fists, veins throbbing at his temples, but the more he tried to convince himself, the deeper his unease grew. "I'll contact the healer myself and check on the pup's condition. As long as the pups are still in the nursery, Rose is lying to me again." With that thought, he immediately established a mind link. "I want to see the 2 pups my mate gave birth to. Show me their images now." The healer on the other end hesitated for a moment before saying in a low voice, "Please wait a moment, Alpha. I'll go check for you." In the waiting silence, Leo's mind drifted. In his past life, he woke up from a car crash, and his mother, her eyes red from crying, told him that the girl waiting outside was the daughter of the family who had ruined themselves to save his father. From then on, she was his responsibility. He watched the girl smile defiantly, though her eyes were red-rimmed, and in that moment his wolf stirred with a strange softness. At first, it was to repay a debt. He stayed up all night, page by page, helping her catch up on her missed schoolwork. When she lost control during her first bloodline awakening, he was the one who snuck out late at night, scaling the wall to secretly find a suppressant for her. As she grew older, many male wolves inquired about her, and a pang of jealousy began to stir in his heart. He finally understood he didn't want to be just her guardian. He wanted to stand by her side through a bonding ceremony. He wanted to protect her for a lifetime, to make her his and only his. On the day of their bonding ceremony, he had cried so hard he could barely stand, swearing that if he ever betrayed her, he would face 1,000 blades and descend into hell. But he never imagined they would meet the most tragic end. The year after they were bonded, he met Clara. Clara tearfully told him that it wasn't Rose's family who had saved his father from the rogue attack, but hers. She said that after her family was destroyed, she was sold to an enemy pack, suffering endless humiliation. Now, she had been used and discarded by another man, pregnant with a bastard child. She sobbed in his arms. "If the Luna's family hadn't taken credit for what my family did, wouldn't I have grown up cherished like her? Wouldn't my pup's fate have been different?" His mind was in turmoil, resenting the Rose family for their social climbing, for harming the true savior and his daughter. But he was also afraid that Rose would go mad if she knew the truth, that she would leave him, so he came up with a remedy. He kept a dozen she-wolf mistresses, hiding Clara among them. Seeing her pale face, the devastation in her eyes, he couldn't help but comfort her. "As long as you give birth to a pup first, I'll send them all away." But he never expected that even though he had taken precautions, Rose had secretly used a fertility ritual to get pregnant. And to give birth before Clara, she had recklessly used an induction ritual. The 2 pups were stillborn. When Clara tearfully told him about it, her voice trembled. "I didn't mean to. I didn't expect this. I killed her pups. I don't want to live anymore." In that moment, rage and guilt nearly tore his sanity apart. He forcefully ordered the healer to put the twins' corpses back inside Rose's body, just so she could feel the pain she deserved. But she, in turn, cried and cursed him, saying he had killed the pups. He hated her innocent act, hated how his spoiling had turned her into a compulsive liar. So he dragged her to Clara's grave to repent. He never expected she was already so weak, and in the end, he beat her to death. The moment she died, he knelt on the spot like a madman. He held Rose and killed himself in front of Clara's grave, but when he opened his eyes again, fate had rewound. He had returned to the time just before Clara's delivery. This time, he swore he would protect Clara and her child. He swore he would not, as in his past life, let his doting spoil Rose into a jealous monster. He had to be cold to her, let everyone bully her to make her understand obedience. He had planned to use her uncle to threaten her into submission, but he never imagined that the Beta Guard would somehow miss his mind-linked order that it was just an act and actually push her uncle off the cliff. He covered his eyes, his voice filled with regret. Rose must be doing this because of her uncle, deliberately scaring me, colluding with the servants. I was wrong, I went too far. But how could she use her own death, the pups' deaths, to scare me? Thankfully, Clara had the healer record the pup's image, which can prove. Before he finished the thought, his face changed dramatically, as if he'd been plunged into an icy abyss. A thought suddenly struck him. In the last life, Rose was pregnant with twin alphas. But the memory crystal Clara showed him contained only one ordinary beta pup. Just then, the healer's voice came through the mind link, tight with fear. Alpha, your mate never gave birth. At all.
What?
Leo's face turned ashen, a sharp, suffocating pain constricting his chest. He gripped the edge of the table, the only thing keeping him from collapsing. Now, he gritted out, word by word, bring me the healer who was supposed to deliver Rose's babies. I need to ask him face to face. Soon, the healer was brought before him. The moment the healer saw him, his face went white. He stammered, I really don't know. It was the Luna who insisted on using the suppressants. She had to delay her labor. I tried to persuade her, but she said only by delaying would her pups have a chance to live. Before he could finish, Leo's face had turned a ghastly shade of white, his fingers clenching so hard they cracked. Impossible! His eyes filled with terror as he shook his head relentlessly. Were you bribed by Rose? Did she force you to lie to me? Clara clearly said you delivered for her and the pup was sent to the nursery. Clara? The healer looked utterly baffled. I don't know any Clara. I'm the healer the Luna hired. Boom. The sentence was a lightning bolt to Leo's mind. He swayed, stumbling back several steps. Impossible, he whispered, his voice nearly shattering. Clara told me she said she had arranged a healer. Suddenly, he erupted. Everyone investigate, find out who is lying, find out what happened. He immediately ordered all the Beta Guards who had taken Rose away that day to be brought in for interrogation. The moment they saw him, the Betas' faces changed. They dropped to their knees with a thud, begging for mercy. Alpha, we were just following Miss Clara's orders. If she hadn't ordered it, we never would have laid a hand on the Luna. What did you say? Leo shot his head up, his gaze sharp as a blade. Clara's orders? The miscarriages, wasn't it Rose who made you force-feed them wolfsbane? It was Miss Clara, one of the Betas stammered, so scared he could barely speak. She said that since she had already given birth to your eldest son, the other women and their pups were no longer needed. She also said that you loathed the Luna, and now that the Luna was pregnant, you had lost your patience. She said it was you who wanted us to get rid of the pups in the Luna's belly. Leo felt his scalp tingle, his voice turning hoarse. You're saying Rose, on the day she was taken away, she was still pregnant? Yes, the Betas blurted out. Miss Clara also said you hated the Luna's family for stealing credit for saving your father. She told us to push the Luna's uncle off the cliff to vent your anger. That's why we ignored your mind link and did it. Leo stood there, completely stunned. A moment later, he staggered back, his entire face contorted. Clara did all this? He suddenly realized something and let out a heart-wrenching, wolfish howl of pain. Rose was really still pregnant, and I accused her of lying. For he finally buckled, collapsing to his knees, his nails digging violently into the carpet, his entire being hollowed out. After a long moment, he buried his face in his hands and broke down, sobbing uncontrollably. She was still pregnant. She still had my pups in her belly, and because of a few words from Clara, I watched her bloodline collapse. I threw her in a silver cell and let her die. Chapter 9. Leo stumbled his way home. The villa was empty. He walked step by step into the silver-plated underground cell, the pungent smell of blood assaulting his senses. The place where Rose had lain was empty. The cold concrete floor was caked with dark, dried blood. He threw himself to his knees, his fingers frantically clawing at the floor as if trying to scrape that pool of blood back into his own body. Rose, where are you? Please come out. I was wrong. I was so wrong. His howls echoed in the empty cell, heart-wrenching like a man possessed. But only silence answered him.
Until a familiar, icy voice broke the stillness. Stop looking. Rose is dead. Leo's body jolted. He turned to see his mother, the matriarch, standing at the top of the stairs, her expression frigid. I've investigated that Clara was an imposter from the start. He stared, his eyes wide, his throat dry. What did you say? The matriarch slowly descended the stairs, her eyes filled with a mixture of disappointment and disgust. She is not the daughter of the man who saved your father. The tragic stories she told you were lies. She's just a rogue who sells her body for money.
She overheard someone talking about your father's accident and Rose's family and got a twisted idea. She forged an identity, bribed witnesses, and passed herself off as your savior's daughter. For a liar, you created this farce of keeping mistresses, breaking Rose's heart. You even... She paused, her gaze turning to ice. For this liar, you personally killed the last descendant of the family that saved your life, you killed your mate, and you killed your unborn pups. How could I have a son as foolish and blind as you? Leo felt as if he had been slapped, frozen in place.
You're saying Clara is fake? She lied to me? Her family didn't save my father? How could that be? But in the last life, Leo's voice caught. His mind was a chaotic mess. Everything from his past life was told to him by Clara. He suddenly remembered that day when he forced the healer to put the pups back. The healer had tried to say something. Alpha, the pups are innocent. If you put them back, neither the Luna nor the pups will survive. His whole body trembled violently. Of course, Rose's family shouldn't have saved your father. They sacrificed their own family standing to save him, and their last wish was for me to take care of Rose. The matriarch said with red-rimmed eyes, I told you to take care of her like a sister, but you insisted on marrying her. I asked if you could treat her well for a lifetime, and you made such beautiful promises. But what did you do to her? She loved you to death, yet you and that Clara forced her into a dead end. In the end, you locked her in this basement to die in childbirth. She was covered in blood when she died. I had to collect her body myself. I have already buried her and the pups for you. Don't even think about seeing them. You are not worthy. I won't have you defile their final resting place. Leo's eyes widened, his body trembling, his lips white as he stumbled backward. He covered his face, weeping like a madman, endlessly repeating Rose, pups, I'm sorry. After that day, he locked himself in his room and never came out. He didn't eat or drink for 3 days, as if he were already dead, until the evening of the 4th day. Clara returned from her vacation with the child. When Leo received the news,
he actually left his room and called a driver to take him to the airport. The driver said Leo was impeccably dressed in a sharp suit, a polite smile on his face, holding a bouquet of flowers as he waited at the airport exit. As if nothing had happened. As if he had forgotten the mate who had bled out in the silver cell. As if he had forgotten the pups who had died before they were born. When the matriarch heard this, her face changed abruptly. Where did you take them? Get the beta guards immediately. Leo has gone mad.
The matriarch had just arrived at the villa's gate with her men when, boom, an explosion erupted and a ritual circle of silver flames devoured everything. Clara screamed and cursed, frantically trying to escape, but the doors and windows had been locked from the inside. She was surrounded by a raging inferno. She cried and slammed against a window before Leo dragged her back by her hair. The matriarch was held back by the beta guards, screaming, Leo, don't be rash, open the door, let them put out the fire. In the smoke and flames, Leo's face was filled with bitter despair. I'm not coming out, Mom. Don't save me to Rose and the pups. In the flames, his tears fell. He choked out, Rose, if one day I've atoned for my sins in hell, can I see you and the pups one more time? The next second, he closed his eyes and leaped into the center of the forbidden blood and fire sacrifice ritual. That night, the entire villa burned to ashes. I heard the news on the day of Leo's funeral. The sky was overcast. The matriarch, dressed in mourning clothes, stood at my door. Her eyes were red as she asked if I would go to the funeral. I held my surviving child and slowly shook my head. The matriarch was silent for a long time before saying softly, Now that Leo is gone, you and his only bloodline are all that's left. I want him to be the pack's heir. I looked up and spoke softly. That won't be necessary. He bears the Rose bloodline, not yours, matriarch. Thank you for everything, but with Leo gone, I have no ties to your pack. I think it's best we don't see each other again. With that, I took a step back and gently closed the door. Outside, the wind rose, making the funeral banners flutter, carrying the faint smell of burning paper into the house. The pup in my arms cooed softly. I kissed his cheek, and a tear fell. This time, my little wolf, you can finally run free.